Welcome to Positively Nerdy number 105, X-Men Battle of the Atom, Part 2. Welcome back to a brand new episode of Positively Nerdy and the latest installment of our new but ultimately short-lived series of episodes covering the X-Men Battle of the Atom event at Marvel Comics. And to help me do just that is my best friend and yours, Suine Hallock. Suine, how are you doing, buddy?
I'm fine. How about yourself?
I'm doing great. I feel like I'm always talking to you. I feel like I just talked to you about a different group of mutants. That's what it feels like.
Oh, yeah, it just seems, I remember it like it was yesterday.
It's deja vu all over again. It's a glitch in the Matrix. They've changed something. I think it's probably my bank account. Anyway, that was the worst joke ever. God, I'm going to edit that out, but I'm not going to edit that out. But I probably should. Anyway, we are here to discuss the event, again, as I mentioned, the Battle of the Atom, running across almost all of the X-Men books at Marvel at the moment. And this was one that caught my eye because I'm just loving the X-Men comics right now, and I know from conversations I've had with Suine that he is as well. So I said to Suine, hey, let's do a podcast about it. And he said, sure, why not, for some reason. And it was really easy to afford, at least the first part of this crossover, because of Villains Month over at DC Comics. I wasn't going to play ball. I didn't get a single one of them, and that gave me a lot of extra money, and I got some really cool creator-owned comics, and I got a lot of X-Men comics, and I'm very, very happy with the creator-owned comics, and I'm really digging the X-Men event. So, thank you, DC. Suine, just kind of ballpark before we get into them in depth. How are we feeling about chapters 4 and 5 of Battle of the Atom?
They're good. They're not the balls of excitement that the first three we read were, but that's to be expected in a 10-part arc. It's it's the slow rise to the climax.
Sure, we got the big bang at the beginning with everything that was going on, the crux of the story, the reveal of the X-Men from the future and everything that was going on with them. And now we're kind of mellowing out. We get a lot of more talking, although there's still plenty of combat and action and fun to be had. But I definitely I can see where you're coming from that angle. So let's dive right into these. We only have 2 this week. By the time you're hearing it, All New X-Men is out, and that would be Chapter 6 in this event. But you won't hear us talk about it for a while because, like I said, it's time of recording. It's not out yet. So the first of the 2 issues we're going to talk about is Uncanny X-Men number 12, which is, as I mentioned, Chapter 4 of our event. And we left off last time with Scott and Jean from the past arriving on what the remains of Utopia to meet Cyclops of the present and his group of X-Men. They are the last resort that they're looking for help because the current X-Men, Wolverine's group from the Jean Grey School, the Jean Grey School, and the future X-Men want to send the past X-Men back to the past. And Jean doesn't want to leave. She's suspicious of these future X-Men, and she thinks that she should be able to make up her own mind, and her and Scott take off. And then we actually get a little bit of a diversion from that story, and we cut to a S.H.I.E.L.D. helicarrier as Maria Hill is complaining at length about the X-Men and their temporal shenanigans. And
she hates Henry McCoy. There are 4 H's in there. I counted.
Hates him. Because Henry McCoy has no code and he does whatever he wants, and it's always S.H.I.E.L.D.'s mess to clean up, apparently. At least that's how Maria Hill feels about it. Wolverine has a code of some kind, so apparently that's okay, because he's a samurai with a code. A messed up code, but a code nonetheless. She tells Dazzler, which I didn't realize that Dazzler, who wants to be called Blair, was working for S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yeah.
Is this in one of the X-Men books you're reading, Suine?
Uncanny, I believe.
Okay, because we talked about this last time, and again, for anybody who's joining us and didn't listen to Part 1, go back and listen to Part 1. First of all, it was episode number 100. How could you miss it? And also, Suine and I are kind of, between the two of us, are reading most of these comics. So again, why it made sense to kind of team up and do this series of podcasts. So, and one of those is Uncanny X-Men I'm not reading, which I should be, because I'm intrigued by Cyclops' current status quo. Bendis is writing it, who I love, and I love his new energy that he's brought to the X-Men books. And Chris Bachalo is doing the art on it, and the art on this issue as well, and I love his work. So I really should be reading it. And plus Dazzler's there. How do you not love Dazzler? Everybody loves Dazzler.
Yep.
So she's very, very upset about all of the temporal shenanigans the X-Men are getting up to. She hates Hank McCoy. Hilarious. And she wants Dazzler to do something about it, but she doesn't specify as to what that is. And Scott and Scott talking to each other is, well, it's fascinating, quite honestly. Iceman's talking to each other is funny. Hank's talking to each other is, I don't know, it's special, but it's not quite the same. For some reason, the Scotts talking to each other just cracks me up, because they're the same person, but they're so different, and yet they still, like, respect each other. I don't even know how to describe it, but I love it. Suine, can you get a handle on that at all, or do you feel the same way, or no?
It is interesting. Like, it's kind of they look at each other and you have to wonder, like, if they're thinking, yeah, I just do not like this guy.
Right, because the Beasts are still the Beasts for the most part. And same with the Iceman, except for this Hulk Iceman guy that we still haven't gotten an explanation on, and is really weird. But
Scott's a self-loather, so like
there's that too. Yeah, exactly.
Like, I hate this guy.
Nice. At least he can finally.
I hate this guy.
At least he can finally externalize his thoughts, right? Instead of turning them all inwards.
Exactly.
He's got someone else to project them onto. And there's quite a bit of discussion on these two kind of coming to them as a last resort. Jean Grey gets to meet the Stepford triplets, the Cuckoos, whatever they're called. And there's a little bit of discussion on what is driving them here. Like, how bad is it really? And so Emma and the triplets, what's their, like, proper name?
The Stepford Cuckoos.
Is it the Stepford Cuckoos? Okay, I just got it a little bit crossed. They basically project the entire conversation of the future X-Men coming back, and there's another round of, hey, that's Deadpool. Hey, that's a giant Hulk Iceman. Hey, that's a crazy-looking beast. We get that all over again, but it's with different characters, so I absolutely did not mind at all.
No.
Still found it very, very fun and entertaining. Not out of nowhere, excuse me, but Magic lets them know that this is not okay. And the Stepford Cuckoos are also like, why would they shield themselves from Jean if they didn't have something to hide? So everybody's kind of right in line with Jean and Scott's suspicions. And Magic takes off. Does she take anybody with her? She does not take anybody with her.
No.
Or at least not yet. And just up and takes off for the future. And I love Cyclops asks the Stepford Cuckoos if they know where she went, and they're like, you don't go into her head, ever. It's dark and scary. So there's a lot of, again, more discussion. We've come to you for help. Will you help us? And that's kind of like a little cliffhanger for that scene as we cut back to the future X-Men and Wolverine's X-Men. A lot of X-Men going on. Still having the debate on whether or not they should be sending them back. Just because these people said so doesn't make it right. We have Rachel Gray here, who's not in her timeline, and nothing has blown up or died or ended. And present-day Kitty has a real problem with Future's Kitty's attitude. Very different dynamic than the Scott one that we just talked about. But it's the same kind of thing. Like, I grew up into an asshole. Like, that can't be. That can't be.
Although, didn't you love Deadpool saying, hey, I used to think I was in a comic book?
Deadpool has some great lines in this, and he's so... And we'll get into some of his highlights in the next issue, actually. But it's so Deadpool, but it's not constant. Like, he's not ramming him down our throats, which I really appreciated. A little bit of Deadpool goes a long way, and is better than a lot of bit of Deadpool. And a lot of arguing, again, as we mentioned, kind of the slower talking issues. And then we cut to a couple pages of no talking, as Scott is off by himself trying to determine what's going on. This new group of X-Men, which again is another reason I need to be reading Uncanny, because I love these new kids that they've recruited. I think most of them are pretty outstanding. And Scott has decided that he is going to help them. And most of the group thinks that's a bad idea. So we're right back, kind of like the same dilemma they just left, as in part of the group wants them to stay and part of the group wants them to go. And, of course, we'll get into this, too, as well. Of course, Wolverine and Scott have different opinions. Their followers, their teammates are arguing back and forth. A lot of craziness going on. Emma is more concerned that it has to do with keeping Jean around than preserving timelines or allowing free will. She thinks he's being selfish. Magneto doesn't like it one bit at all either, which I'm not so sure. I was going to say that makes sense, but I'm not so sure it does. I don't know that this would be a problem for Magneto to the level it is. Do you think it's because of everything with AVX? I mean, they bring up the death of Charles a lot, and that's influencing decisions, good or bad. I found myself kind of confused that Magneto was so defiant of Scott's decision.
Magneto's been a little tough to read lately, period, because, as you said, you haven't been reading Uncanny.
But he's like a triple agent or something, isn't he?
Yeah, and no one's sure exactly what alliance he actually is.
And we did get a little shield at the beginning of this.
Yeah, so he's, it's really hard to figure out what his motives might be.
Right. And we talked about this before, too, for anybody, because I know there's a large group of people out there, and I don't know that necessarily this is the same demographic that's listening to this right now. But there's a large group of people out there that read X-Men comics and nothing else from Marvel. But if you are reading other things from Marvel, you know that the time stream has been messed with more in the last couple of months than probably ever. Age of Ultron was a big alternate reality time travel story. Spider-Man right now has a time travel element to it. Indestructible Hulk, has a time travel element to it right now. Fantastic Four has a time travel element to it right now. And I think there's one I'm missing. But there's a lot going on temporally. So S.H.I.E.L.D. and anybody who's got temporal and time travel on as their responsibilities hates their job. So we cut to Angel is throwing his fit. Like, I wanted to go home. I said we should go home. I left that other group because they wouldn't send me home. Now this group's not going to send me home either. And in the middle of his tirade, he freezes. And young Scott thinks that it was young Jean, but it wasn't. It was Zorn. The X-Men, Wolverine's X-Men and the X-Men of the future have finally caught up with them here on Utopia. And a psychic battle ensues between Zorn, which is old Jean, and young Jean. And then our cliffhanger is Emma and Stepford Cuckoos intervene on young Jean's behalf. And I love the line of, because they're just standing there, that's all anybody can see physically. But you want to psychically battle someone, pick on someone who absolutely despises you. Too bad no one's watching. Black Queen versus White Queen, the message board would love this. A little too meta if I stop and think about it, but in the moment I was like, all right, I can live with that joke. That's fine. Really, really nice kind of, we talked about it, a big talking issue, not a ton of action, which I hate complaining about. It makes me sound unintelligent. Nothing happened, because I hate that complaint. It's not that nothing happened, but for this style of issue, that was a great cliffhanger, because it kept kind of that motif going. We didn't all of a sudden get an explosion or something stupid as our cliffhanger. The cliffhanger fit very well in line with the rest of the issue, which I thought was pretty fantastic. Any thoughts on Uncanny?
Just awesome stuff all around. I'm a fan of the Stepford Cuckoos. They're a very great source of dark humor. So, and I also dug I agree it's kind of meta, but I dug the line, the message boards would love this.
So it's somehow it straddles that line between too much and awesome.
Yeah.
I don't know how it does it, but it does it.
It works.
I'm vaguely familiar with the Stepford Cuckoos. I don't know if they debuted, I'm not sure where they first appeared, but when I first became aware of them was in Whedon's Astonishing X-Men run.
They were before, I think they were, I might be wrong, but I want to say they were from Morrison's run on
okay. See, I didn't read Morrison's run.
X-Men.
I've got a very back and forth relationship with the X-Men. I'm on, and then I'm off.
I might be wrong, but I want to say that's when...
Yeah, and I was on...
Because there were 5 of them originally.
Right. Oh, wow. Okay, I didn't know that. I was on for, Brubaker's run until the whole Rise and Fall of the Shi'ar Empire and Emperor Vulcan and all that stuff. That's where I jumped off. And then I jumped back on, was Astonishing? Astonishing was before that. Yeah, Astonishing was me getting back into X-Men, I'm pretty sure. I don't know the time. Yeah, I'm pretty sure, because Astonishing took forever, because there were big gaps. And there was that Morrison reveal that I didn't get at the time, because a bunch of mutants from Morrison's run were this big reveal on the end of one of the Astonishing X-Men issues. And I was like, I don't know who these people are.
Yeah.
And then, and now I'm back full-fledged into X-Men, so.
There were Grant Morrison.
They were? The Stepford?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Because they were in Astonishing X-Men, I know that. And then I read the first several issues of Wolverine and the X-Men, and they were at the school for a time, obviously, before defecting with Emma on Scott's team. So we head right into Chapter 5 then, Wolverine and the X-Men, speaking of. Issue number 36, so Wolverine and the X-Men has been around a lot longer than all these other Marvel titles, or X-Men titles, excuse me. Written by Jason Aaron, pencils by Giuseppe Camuncoli. We did mention before Bendis and what's his face? Bachelot, excuse me. And this one picks up right where that one left off with the psychic face-off, where it just looks like they're just standing there. And what I loved about this, because again, it's nothing's happening, but the conversation between the Scotts of this isn't just old Jean, this is young Jean stayed behind and grew up Jean.
Yeah.
I thought that was a great distinction and a great kind of clarification, and I don't really know this Jean any more than you do kind of thing, which I thought was fantastic. And you see the strain on everybody's face as they're trying to, everybody being Jean and Emma and Zorn. Well, you don't see the strain on Zorn's face, I guess, because she's got the Zorn mask on.
Yeah.
And Wolverine and his group shows up, and I love the Slim and Slimmer line. I thought that was hilarious.
Yeah.
Which, I don't know, does he still call Scott Slim on a regular basis? I haven't heard that in a long time, I don't think.
Well, they don't interact very often anymore.
Very true.
So,
very true.
But a lot of this issue I found was kind of, it seemed to reestablish a lot of groundwork, like reminding everybody Wolverine and Scott don't like each other. Reminding everybody, oh yeah, Emma and Jean hate each other. Reminding everyone, oh yeah, Scott and Jean have a whole lot of past. Which, I mean, I guess you do got to bring some of this up for, folks who don't read all these.
It is an event.
Yeah,
and that's what happens. And I hate
it's important.
It's important stuff to bring up, and you always are going to attract an audience or even a small group of readers that haven't been reading. But at the same time, this is chapter 5 in this story, so. You take it and leave it. I love the arguing between Scott and Wolverine, and then young Scott intervenes, and Wolverine has to say that he's starting to wonder which of these Scotts he hates more.
Yeah, that was good.
The psychic battle goes on. One of these Stepford Cuckoos falls out as Zorn is battling, and then we get a page that doesn't look like the Giuseppe Camuncoli I know. It looks like it's done by Romita Jr. We get the kind of the projection of the psychic battle that's going on, the orange and the blue fighting each other, and this is definitely the action for the issue, and I kind of love that young Jean is the last one standing. Not terribly surprising, didn't catch me by surprise, but it's not a cliffhanger or anything, and just how defiant she is completely. I thought that was fantastic. The trio of women that are... No, that's not. That's Old Kitty. I forgot. I thought this was the whole group that was coming to liberate the mutants from the past. But Kitty, Old Kitty, and Rachel, again, more talking, more discussing, and this is exactly what you just mentioned. This is rehashing their stance on everything and preserving the timeline. We do get some legitimate fighting between the groups a little bit, but every time it stirs up a little bit, somebody steps in to stop it. Hulk, Iceman smashes Cyclops, but Wolverine pulls him back. Then something else happens, and Storm pulls him back. And talking about, again, using Deadpool to great effect, he's like, who are these kids anyway? They must not grow up because I've never heard of them. Oh, wait, is that Gold Balls? You're a legend. Now, explain to me and anybody who hasn't been reading Uncanny X-Men, who is Gold Balls? Is that a total joke on Deadpool's part? Or what is Gold Balls' deal?
This kid, his mutant power seems to be the ability to just to produce sizable golden metallic spheres that he can. he can throw them. I think he might be able to deal with them telekinetically, like they're an extension of him. And so everyone's like, oh, dude, your name is Gold Balls. And he's like, no, damn it, that's just... But it kind of stuck.
Nice. I kind of had the feeling, because it was Deadpool saying it, that he's more of a joke than anything, and that it was just, again, Deadpool kind of making fun of him more than anything.
Yeah, if you look, there is a gold ball above his head in that panel.
But this is pretty much my introduction to the character.
Yeah.
So, and then we kind of get some hints that young Jean of the past, is winning the battle, the psychic battle, as both sides lose containment and the actual battle is going on around them. Cut back, I completely had forgotten about Iceman and Beast of the past are stuck at the mansion. They were left behind in case, was it Jean and Scott, of the past doubled back to the mansion, just so that friendly faces would be there waiting for him.
And Jubilee just wanted them to watch the kids so she could go take a nap.
Yes. And Hank is extremely suspicious of these X-Men from the future. Glad somebody finally is, other than Jean, because I know I've been preaching that from the get-go.
Yeah.
He's trying to kind of add up what they're saying versus what he's able to research and stuff. And Magic pops up, who disappeared in the last issue, and tells them that they need to come with her to the future. And Beast is like, yeah, I think we have the same suspicion. And she's like, it's not a suspicion. I've been there. And there's something they're not telling us. There's a darkness they're hiding. And Beast is like, is the solution really more time travel? Which at this point, just go for it, guys. Let's just time travel all over the place. I love it. And Bobby wants to come too, and it's like, wait, what'd you do with the baby? Oh, don't worry, he's safe. And she leaves him with, I don't know his name, but I remember him from my time reading, a member of the Brood.
A Brew.
A Brew is
B-R-O-O.
Okay. Is he full Brew, or is he a half-breed of some kind?
I don't remember completely how his story went.
Because my knowledge of the Brood is basically, I mean, they're obviously
hive mind,
right, and obviously they're modeled after the Xenomorph in the Alien movies, but they are very nasty, evil, brutal aliens, and don't leave your baby with.
Yeah, but of all these titles, Wolverine and the X-Men is the only one I don't regularly read, but
okay.
I do recognize Brew from this book.
I know I read at least the first arc, if not a little bit more, and he was definitely present. Cut back to Utopia. Again, psychic battle raging, actual physical battle raging. Finally get somebody, present-day Iceman, wondering what the heck happened to me in the future to turn me into such a monster, because that's this huge ice elephant in the room that nobody is addressing. And young Jean finally getting the better of old Jean, and she looks into the future and freaks out at what she's seen. And it's about that time Deadpool intervenes and goes on this big, bizarre speech of, we need to stop killing each other, and this fighting is too much, I can't do it anymore. You want to know how screwed up things are in the future? They made me an X-Man. And we had no choice. We did what we had to do. You remember how I was always laughing? Now now I'm not laughing. Nobody laughs in the future. It sucks. And I'm not going back, so I'm going to kill myself. Bury me in chimichangas. So he gets a little Deadpoolish in there at the end. And then young Jean intervenes, takes the gun away, and says, we're going back. We don't belong here. They were right. It's time to go home. And then as they leave, there's a little bit of reconciliation on basically we're going to go our separate ways. And Magneto knows that present-day Scott is not going to let this one slide. And there's a little back and forth between Wolverine and Deadpool, which I thought was terrific. And then Wolverine basically says, thanks for what you did. It helped a lot. It set things right. And as he walks away, Deadpool, it's a nice speech, wasn't it? Almost a shame it was all a lie. And so that's kind of our further revelation that this group is up to no good. And to cement the deal, Magic and Beast and Bobby of the past, so many different X-Men running around. Jeez. Arrive at the Jean Grey School in the future. There are Sentinels there, which is weird and bizarre. And then they meet the real X-Men of the future, apparently. And that's our big cliffhanger there. Now, we've got a guy with the Phoenix powers, it looks like. Someone with looks like a combination of Sentinel and Iron Man tech. We have Colossus with a mustache, which is
a Lemmy stash.
indescribably awesome. Looks like some Psylocke with Wolverine claws. Is that something like that?
Could be, yeah. Or no, I bet you that might be Jubilee. Look at the sunglasses.
Oh, maybe it is Jubilee. Yep, I can see that. We've got Ice Gandalf in the back there.
Oh, God, another Iceman. Bobby's head's going to explode.
Right? And a guy up top who looks like some sort of combination between the Hood and Cloak from Cloak and Dagger.
Yeah, it makes me think of Cloak.
Yeah, and then the red Hood part made me think of, Red Hood. No, is it? It's just the Hood in the Marvel guy, right? I think it's just the Hood. But yeah, definitely got a Cloak vibe first and foremost. So a very, very interesting group, and we find out the future is not this horrible, horrible place we were told it was. So halfway through our event, it is pretty much confirmed that our initial X-Men from the Future group are not the good guys. So we are halfway through. 10 issue story. We are now halfway through it. We will be getting the rest of these issues in throughout the month of October. So Suine and I will be back, it looks like, for 2 more episodes based on the release schedule and how often I get my comics sent to me. Suine, thoughts on not just these 2, but the halfway point?
I think we're in a good place. That's a good hang-off point for the halfway point. The reveal that, okay, this future isn't the hellhole you people painted it out to be.
And you're apparently not the X-Men.
Yeah. Now I'm starting to wonder if this is Dark Beast we got on our hands.
Oh, wow. Yeah. That's very possible.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to think who else is... But, I mean, it's weird, but it's... Unless none of these people are who they claim to be, because Dark Beast could work. Hulk, Iceman doesn't talk.
Yeah.
Deadpool's bad guys. Anybody who would take the Zorn persona can't be a good guy, right? And then I guess the red flag there is Old Kitty.
Yeah.
So I'd be very curious as to find out what we're assuming and what I've been crying from the get-go because of the timing of when they showed up. This bad team, what would drive Kitty to become one of the bad guys? I kind of like that the halfway point is a letdown. Like, there's a big reveal, but it's not like, again, an explosion or, a death or anything super gimmicky like that. For the most part, all the characters are kind of winding down. Like, they think it's over. So I kind of like that our halfway point is so subdued.
Yeah. Yeah, it's unique.
It's definitely a twist. So, fair to say, I'm still digging these, and really, really glad that we decided to do this, because it's always fun. When the X-Men are on, it's a lot of fun, and these past and future versions of different characters, it's all being handled very well by a variety of writers. I mean, this isn't a typical event where you got one writer and one artist. There's a lot of coordination going on here, so props to all the creators involved with this, because I think it's quite a feat they're pulling off, and not always easy to pull off these, especially when they involve time travel, but at the same time, self-contained events with time travel, kind of the X-Men's bread and butter.
Yep.
I mean, you go all the way back to Days of Future Past and all sorts, Age of Apocalypse, and there's plenty of time traveling stories to draw from and examples of how the X-Men can make it work, and I think Battle of the Atom could very well be... well, let's face it, it's no Days of Future Past, or at least not yet, but it's definitely the best X event in a long time.
Yeah, by far.
I would say. So, Suine, thanks for hopping on and joining me for this X-Men talk.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Most people are used to hearing us talk about a different group of mutants. That would be the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. And if you have not heard us talk about that, the episode right before this on the Positively Nerdy feed is, in fact, one of those episodes where Suine and I talk about the IDW Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle series, and it's if you like this, you'll like that as well, I would think. So definitely want to check that out. You can check out Suine and his toy reviews, cat videos, whatever he's got going on in his creative yet ultimately twisted mind will be found over at houseofhallock.com. Anything cool going on over there these days, Suine? Well, of course there is, but what is going on?
Thanks. I'm a little behind on things right now, wondering what to put up first, but I got a few things in front of me that I'm it's figuring out order at the moment.
Good. We will be looking forward to that, and it is October, so certain comic podcasts notwithstanding, it will be dedicated to Halloween at PositivelyNerdy.com. The Tuesday Top 5, the Comics with Ketchup episodes, Ryan and Lee at the movies especially, will all be geared toward the wonderfulness that is the month of October and Halloween. So
That's going to be sweet.
Definitely don't want to miss any of that. And thank you guys so much for joining Suine and I. We will catch you next time. Until then, celebrate comics, celebrate your fandom.